right there in the front.
Okay, it's working.
So you're good. It did the sound okay?
Yeah, it worked.
So, okay.
Thank you.
Did everybody get their notebooks? Everybody get your notebooks?
I see myself. Hi, swag.
Oh, I hope it is.
Oh, thanks.
Where's mine? 45. Can't find mine. Wait, that's not mine.
Alright guys, everybody see? Alright. So y'all been talking about the Great Depression, and what y'all learned from it is that a lot of people were affected. A lot of groups of people, farmers, bankers, people who lost their jobs. A lot of people were affected by this. And this is going to be a little pre-quiz, so what we're going to cover today. So, we're going to go over this class later, so for right now, I want you to be able to write it down in the journal. You don't have to write the question down, just write the answer. So number 1, who was the president at the beginning of the Great Depression? So as you know, there was 2 presidents during the Great Depression. There was one, and then he did not get reelected. Somebody else came in and took over his job. So can you tell me who was, the very first one? And secondly, guys, what are some of the causes for the Great Depression? And a lot of the classes have been telling us a lot of effects, but make sure you're just going specifically to the cause. What made the Great Depression happen? And on the 3rd and 4th questions, these are going to be more of an opinion-based question. It's going to be, what should the government do to help these farmers? What happened to these farmers? A lot of them were affected by the Dust Bowl, a lot of the prices were really low. So what should the government do to help these farmers out? What do you think they should do? And number 4, what should the government do to help businesses during the Great Depression? So a lot of businesses got shut down, a lot of shops got shut down, people lost their jobs. How do you think the government should handle that? What do you think they should do? And number 5, who was the president that helped get America out of the Great Depression by creating the New Deal? So, individually, don't do this as a group. Just write down the answers to these 5 questions. I'll give you all a few minutes to do it. And then we're going to go over it as a class. And if any of y'all need any help, just raise your hand. I'll be happy to help you. Remember 3 and 4 is more of an opinion question, so don't be afraid of what you put. Be be ready for some answers because we're going to go over this. I'll give you guys about 1 more minute, so just finish up what we're on and we'll go over this as class. Alright guys, we're just going to go ahead and cover this now. Alright, so on number 1, who can tell me, just raise your hand, who was the president at the beginning of the Great Depression? Yeah. Herbert Hoover, very good. As you know that a lot of people also blamed Hoover for the Great Depression, whether that was warranted or not, and he was not reelected, and somebody came in and took over. What were some of the causes for the Great Depression?
Stock market.
Stock market? What about stock market?
It crashed.
It crashed? Does anybody know what that was? What did you call that class earlier?
Black Thursday. And Black Tuesday.
Black Tuesday, very
Well,
good.
this Black Thursday and Black Tuesday. And Black Tuesday.
Alright, any more causes? Yeah.
Overspending for the stock market crash.
Right. Overspending. The Dust Bowl, very good. So a lot of farmers were affected by that. Yeah, you want to add? The banks failed. When the banks shut down, there was a lot of money in those banks and people never saw that money again. A lot of people were on. Okay. That's kind of an effect, but that's still a good answer. Anything else? Alright, we're going to go on to number 3. So what did you guys think that the government should do to help the farmers out? Yeah.
Give money to buy tractors and buy new planting, give them different planting tactics.
Okay, good. That's good. So just give them some money, and maybe they'll make more than, say they were a beans and rice farmer, maybe now they'll be a beans, cotton, and rice farmer. They can grow differently. Yeah, have a little diverse field out there. Yeah. Yeah, that's good. That's a good answer. Yeah.
What I think is they could do is they could use their crops for more things, like than just food and stuff. They could use them for different things, like make them into different products instead of just eating them. And also they could lower like the shipping cost of shipping the crops to the city or businesses. I got another idea.
That's good. Yeah.
If you ban imports, so you can't import any of your food, then the price would rise on commodities, and then that would make sure that farmers would have enough money.
So you want to get rid of people,
You would ban
people,
imports.
like other countries bringing
Yeah.
in stuff here, so
So
we can
that
make it
makes
here.
the demand higher here, so
Yeah, that's
we
good.
start making more.
Yeah.
Maybe they should allow farmers to use their crops to pay for certain things.
Okay. Yeah. So kind of like a collateral they can use. All right. Let's go on to number 4. What should the government do to help businesses here in the Great Depression? So now we did farmers. What about the businesses? Yep.
I think they could give them new tools to help them, like build back up.
Okay. Yep.
Give crowdfunding.
crowdfunding. That wasn't really as easy back then as it is today since we have the internet, but that's still pretty feasible. Anything else? A loan? Yeah. Government loans? Yep. Okay. So try to help some people get back to work by finding new jobs. Have kind of like a government work job. All right, let's do number 5 now. Who was the president that helped America get out of the Great Depression by creating the New Deal? Yeah. FDR. Franklin Roosevelt. Very good. All right, now we're going to cover.
Yeah, it's still called Teddy Roosevelt.
Well, Teddy Roosevelt's a different president.
Oh, yeah, they have the same last name, but they're different.
They're actually cousins.
Yeah. Oh, the cousins. They actually almost have the same cousins. That's good. You can't. I don't care who they are. They're
All right.
relatives. Close enough.
All right, guys. All right, so as you know, we've been saying this phrase, the New Deal, a lot. So let's actually get into what exactly that was. So as y'all know, Herbert Hoover was the president during the beginning of the Great Depression, and a lot of Americans got fed up with him because of the suffering that they went through because of it. And in 1932, he had to run for re-election, and he actually lost that re-election to Franklin Roosevelt. And if you want to know the side of the story, well, in every election recently and even back then, it's almost a two-party thing. It's always a Republican or a Democrat. Back then they had more parties, different parties by different names. But back then they had the Republicans and Democrats. Like today we have Republicans and Democrats. Like the most recent election, it was Mitt Romney was the Republican and Obama was the Democrat. In this election, Franklin Roosevelt was the Democrat nominee and Herbert Hoover was the Republican running for the election. And if you look at the election results, actually, Franklin Roosevelt didn't only win; he won by a lot. Electoral votes, he won 472 to 59. If you look at this map of the United States, all this blue that you see, I know the colors are pretty similar, but all this blue, that's FDR. That's all. He got all those votes. The only votes you see from Hoover are up here in these northeastern states, like New York, Maine, Massachusetts, or those northeastern cities, because there's a lot more businesses up there. People are more wealthy in those cities. But a little bit of background on this guy, on Franklin Roosevelt, is he had a lot of experience already. He was a 2-term governor of New York, and New York, before the stock market crashed, he saw this firsthand. And he was actually a distant cousin of Teddy Roosevelt, like first and second years. Also, the Democrats, they won a huge victory in the House and the Senate. So not only is the president a Democrat, the Congress is too. And if you look into history, anytime that the Congress and the president are at the same party, a lot more gets done because Congress is always going to vote in terms of their president if they're from the same party. This is the greatest Democratic victory in over 80 years. This is how it's seen. And before we get into all the programs that he made through this New Deal, I thought it'd be interesting to show you guys kind of how the Great Depression could be today. Well, I have a little modern day scenario.
Oh, I like the economy collapses.
All right. So this you can guys kind of see. Imagine this scenario. Actually taking place today. So recently the state of Arkansas has overspent its education budget. In an attempt to balance the budget, the following actions must be implemented immediately. All school breakfast lunch programs will be suspended, so if any of you guys get lunch to the cafeteria, that's not going to happen anymore. You got to bring your lunch every day. Air conditioning and heating units will be shut off until the Commissioner of Education says it's okay. So it's 40 degrees outside. It's going to be 40 degrees in here while you're trying to learn. And in August, it's going to be 100 degrees in this classroom. So it's going to be pretty, bring a fan. It's going to be pretty hot. All extracurricular activities will be suspended. So if you play basketball, if you're in band, if you like to paint, if you're like art class, it's gone. Sorry. All bus services will cease, and parents will be responsible for your transportation. So if you ride a bus and your parents can't drive you here, you don't have to ride a bike here or walk. But you would get tired of that. I mean, Some of you live about an hour walk away. So would you like to get out of school at 3:30 and not just get out by?
I was on that highway.
Well, I'm just saying some of you. Not all of you. A lot of you live pretty far out.
Golf cart.
All school board personnel salary will be cut in half. So everyone that works at this school will not be making the money they're used to. And what I want you guys to do is, y'all are all grouped up. So on the page that y'all wrote those answers to those questions down, I want you guys to discuss these questions and write these answers down together. And basically just how does that make you feel? Like, how do you feel about going to school now with all these programs? And who is affected by this policy? Don't just think about you as a student. Think about everyone who's involved in the school and the community. Who will be affected by this? And what would you do differently to get your school back to budget? What would you do? What programs would you make? What would you do to make this different? And I'll give you guys about 5 minutes or so to discuss this. Write some answers down, and we're going to go over this.
Okay, how does city policy be implemented? I thought how does city policy be implemented and make it happen?
Take a longer course. Just go to college.
Yeah, this is I feel like I'm probably being yeah, just
Make sure your mom gets you.
you only teach at school. Ha ha ha. And the parents do this. Teachers affected by this new policy because the parents have to drive to school. Specific. What was the teachers? Well, if you're affected, you're
Unless it's like one of those
or you can take a yeah, they have to pay for lessons and next week. Yeah, all the lunch ladies will be lunch ladies yeah, because we don't get food quotes.
just have to make fun.
Think about people outside of your school.
Yeah.
Teachers because of money cuts, budget cuts. Yeah, because of
You can take like 3 hours. You can take an hour and 40 minutes off school.
yeah,
2 hours, 2.5 hours off school. But we only have one. You burn the bones. If you only have 7 classes, it's 2 hours.
Alright guys, we got about a minute left. We're going to finish up on your
No, you take off because there's 3 classes we don't go to. So once you take those 3 classes off in the morning time, you take them off. We can sell the old building. So like you don't have
Domino's is over there.
Alright guys, stop what you are doing, let's go over this. Alright, on number one, guys, on number one, how did the new policies to be implemented make you feel about going to school? So who wants to tell me how you feel about going to school now? Yeah.
I like school, but I'm not going to school.
You have to walk? Okay.
I wouldn't come because I don't like them. I mean, I like them.
So an incentive to come to school is so you can go to
I
band.
don't like it.
Okay. So an incentive to go to school is these extracurricular activities without those you don't go to school as much. Yeah.
You wouldn't be able to afford lunches, so I would just stay home and just.
Yeah, a lot of kids actually, you know, they rely on these school lunches, and without that, you know, a lot of kids are going to go hungry. Yep.
I normally don't want to go to school because I have to wake up so early. So if I wouldn't be comfortable or happy at school, then I'm
You just wouldn't want to go? Yeah.
They could have a shorter time of school. Yeah, so they don't have to use as much lighting.
Oh, we're just going over how to make you feel. We'll go over that in a second.
Yeah, I get you take it up in the morning.
It made me feel like I don't want to come on any days. Oh, well, I would only want to come during winter and spring.
I want it to, you don't want it to be hot? Yeah.
Cold weather does not bother me.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Alright. Anybody want to add to number one before we move on?
No.
Alright, number two. Who all is affected by this? Yeah.
We put kids, teachers, parents, and lunch ladies because
Okay. You want to expand upon that? Who wants to tell me how are the teachers affected? Yeah.
The teachers who teach extracurricular activities, well, they don't use their job to teach.
So like a coach isn't gonna have a job anymore because or a band teacher. Yeah, so these teachers that teach art, band, all that, you know, they might not have a job anymore. Yeah.
Budget cuts.
Budget cuts. Teachers will definitely get affected by that. Yeah. Yeah. That's good. Yeah.
Teachers would be affected because, like, a lot of teachers would lose their jobs because a lot of students wouldn't be coming, so they wouldn't have anyone to teach.
Okay. That's good.
Well, most teachers stay in their rooms all day, and if there's no heating or air conditioning, it's probably getting really cold.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. All right. Let's go over number three. And I know that y'all had an answer for me earlier. So do you want to tell me what would you do differently to help get these schools back on budget?
a shorter school time.
Shorter school time? Like just go less days or just less hours?
I know,
or
less
both?
hours. We did
And
the
the
teachers could work.
So how would that help?
We would like save money.
Okay, so you save power, bills,
And then the teachers, they could get like less paychecks, less money in their paycheck.
yep.
go on strike.
The students.
Yeah. How would that help?
But yeah, how would that help?
It would.
That's what Hannah said. She said that.
Well, isn't it like the government that gives the school money?
Uh-huh.
And if none of the students are attending the school, either the schools will be shut down or they'll give the schools money.
Alright, they're out of budget, so they don't really have the money to give them. So I'm trying to look for ways that y'all could make the money happen or someone outside of their base. Yeah. Fundraiser, that's a good idea. Yeah.
The government, like the national government, takes takes care
So
of
yeah,
the school board.
the state is the one who pays for our schools. So he said maybe the federal government should take
Well,
over
the
this.
federal government.
Because there's two levels of government here.
Yeah.
Or there's
They
three.
told
There's
us
local,
to-
state, and federal. And so you say that the federal government should give us money instead of the state.
Yeah.
Good. How would that help? Okay, so a fundraiser. Yeah. Good. All right, guys. So as you can see, during the Great Depression, hey guys, during the Great Depression, a lot of people they lost a lot of these luxuries. Not just this. This is a modern day scenario, but a lot of people, you know, they didn't have a way to eat. They didn't have a way to get around. They lost a lot of commodities that we take for granted today, and this kind of shows you how it would feel to be in their shoes in a way. And we're going to look at some programs that Roosevelt made to get people out of this situation, and we're looking at it through the New Deal. Alright. And the first way that he wanted to do that was we got to get the banks in order. Because without a good banking system in this country, people are not going to have credit, people are not going to have money, and we're just going to be poor for a while. And the first thing he did on his first day in office, or the day after he took office, he declared a bank holiday on banks. So also, guys, you've been writing down on that paper the answers to the questions. Pull out another piece of paper and make that a notes page. Like you're going to be taking some notes. So get another piece of paper out. If you need a piece of paper, let me know. Or ask your neighbor. We're going to be taking some notes on some of these agencies, and you're going to need to know this later on. Like later on in this class period. So make sure you're writing down some good notes. Alright, so that first order of business, he declared a bank holiday. Can anyone tell me what a bank holiday is? It's not very common knowledge anymore because we're so used to it. The bank holiday is the bank open on a Sunday? No, that's because it's a bank holiday. It's the one day of the week the banks are taking off. So that was the first day after he took over office. He's already going in there and he's making things happen. He also persuaded Congress to pass the Emergency Relief Act, which authorized the Treasury Department to inspect the nation's banks. So the Emergency Relief Act, always remember these acts and these agencies. So just remember it as the ERA. And what that did is he allowed the Treasury Department to inspect the banks. What that means is that now, back in the day, the banks didn't have to be inspected by the government. But now, he's sending people to go in there, making sure that their books are in order and that everything's in order, and making sure these banks are running functionally. So just write down the ERA, Emergency Relief Act, and that these banks are now being inspected. All right, and now he wants to pass the Glass-Steagall Act, which this established the FDIC, the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. So remember the FDIC. Have any of y'all ever seen the FDIC? Pretty big acronym. Yeah. You heard of it before? You'll see this in banks everywhere.
Yeah, it's like on the window. It says FDIC approved.
All over the windows. What that means is the FDIC, it insures account holders up to $5,000. This is back then, $5,000, and sets strict standards for banks to follow. Today, that number is $100,000. So what that means is that you know what insurance is. Like say, you have car insurance. If you get in a wreck, the insurance company will pay for the damage.
If it's not too bad.
Yeah, it just depends on what coverage you have. But this right here, say I went to the bank in 1928 and I put $1,000 in the bank. Well, back then they didn't have the FDIC, so when the bank shut down in the Great Depression, and it did, people lost that money. That money's gone. I don't have the money anymore, and no one owes that. No one owes me that money. No one's liable. But now, the FDIC makes it to where today I go to the bank and put $1,000 in, and the bank closes down. I'm still going to get that money somehow. I'm going to get it because it's insured. Yeah.
Isn't that why people put my parents have money in 10 different banks?
If you have a lot of money, you don't want to put it all in one account because it can only insure up to a certain amount. So that's what a lot of people do. Yeah.
It's like that saying, don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Don't put all your eggs in one basket. That's a really good quote. Live by that. All right. We'll move on. So you have the ERA and the FDIC for the banks. Remember that for banks. Now we're going to go to the farmers. We have the Agricultural Adjustment Act, or the AAA. So remember that acronym and what it means. And basically what this did is back then, crop prices, one of the biggest problems besides the Dust Bowl is those crop prices were really low. And no matter what those farmers were selling their crops for, they could never get enough money to fund next year's crops. And so they went into debt, they went into poverty. And so Roosevelt's like, I need to get these crop prices up. I need these crop prices to go up, and how am I going to do that? Well, what he did is he made this adjustment to where he encouraged all farmers to grow less product, and that way you have less product on the market, so the prices are going to be higher. When you do that, it's all about that supply and demand. The less supply you have, the higher the demand, the more the price is going to be. And a way that he did this is that say you have 100 acres of land, and you're a farmer, and the government's telling you don't grow all your crops. Well, you know, what kind of incentive are you going to give me to not grow all the crops I want? Well, what he did was say, okay, well, here's 50 acres of land, grow corn, something in this area, and that other 50 acres, don't grow anything at all. And for that 50 acres you don't grow anything, I'm going to give you the money you would have made off those crops. So he still gives them money for doing almost no work. So that gives the farmers incentive. You know, I don't have to work for this money, but it's still going to improve the economy. So therefore, there would be less produce on the market, crop prices would rise, and thus the farmers were actually getting some money. All right. One more agency for the farmers. In the Tennessee Valley Authority, the TVA. See this map of Tennessee? All this blue is floodplain. Tennessee, all these rivers, like look at all these rivers going through Tennessee. It is very, very, very prone to flooding, and that's why farmers could never work there. So Roosevelt said, you know, I want to make it to where farming can happen in the Tennessee Valley. And what he did was, how does a beaver keep a river? How do they adjust the river? How much water goes through it? They build a dam. And that's exactly what they did. They built dams in all of these rivers. And what that did was that controlled flooding in this area, so now they could farm in it. And not only did they build dams, but they built hydroelectric dams. And what that did is, you know, water would go through a hydroelectric dam, and it would turn a turbine when it's going through, and that would generate electricity. So not only do you have more farming regions, you're generating electricity that's really cheap and affordable, so people can now afford to power their homes. So this not only helped farmers, but it helped just the average family that needs power. So Tennessee Valley Authority helped farmers by creating more land for farms and also electricity. All right, now we need to get to how are people getting jobs now? You got farmers covered, you got banks covered, but now I need to employ all these millions of Americans throughout our work. And what he did was he made a lot of agencies that helped put jobs in America. And the first one that we're going to cover is the CCC. Remember, the CCC is the Civilian Conservation Corps. And this put young men to work, ages 18 to 25 mostly, because they needed strong young men because they're going to be building roads, they're going to be building parks, they're going to do a lot of heavy lifting. So mostly it was 18 to 25-year-old males. They also, the way that Roosevelt wanted to combat the Dust Bowl from not having a Dust Bowl too, is that he made these people plant trees in that area. Because when you plant trees in an area, like the reason the Dust Bowl happened was it was all those flat plains, and there was nothing breaking those straight line winds, and there's a lot of dust in that area that was settled. And that wind just picked up all that dust and created a huge bowl effect. And when you put trees in that area, it breaks those winds, so the dust can't get picked up and gathered together. So not only are you giving people jobs, but you're also making it to where Dust Bowl can't happen again. So we killed two birds with one stone on that one. And also in 1942, or by 1942, he put 3 million men to work for this company, or this agency. So a lot of people got jobs. And here's some little posters, little propaganda posters, spirit of the CCC. And it's really hard to read right here, but this is actually a camp in Arkansas. So a lot of people in Arkansas got jobs through this. And also for work, you have the PWA, which is the Public Works Administration. This was part of the NIRA, the National Industrial Recovery Act. But the PWA, the thing you need to remember about this is that it provided money to states to construct schools and community buildings. So now the PWA is giving money so they can build these schools again. They can have these community buildings again. And now, also to get more jobs, we have the CWA, which is the Civil Works Administration. And remember this one as, this is what helped teachers get jobs. They built 40,000 schools and provided salaries for 50,000 teachers. That's a lot of teachers. And they also built a lot of roads too. 500,000 miles of roads. That's a lot of roads. So they help teachers get jobs. They also help people get jobs building roads. All this civil, you'll see a lot of civil. This is public. Anybody need to go back to one of the previous slides? Did y'all get everything on the last one? You get everything? The what? Right there. Gotcha. So, providing money to states to construct schools and community buildings. Alright. Everybody get the CWA as well?
I did.
Go ahead and write that one down too. And make sure you understand the difference between these agencies as, are they helping farmers? Are they helping bankers? Are they helping people get jobs? How are they helping these people? Make sure you're understanding that difference. Alright, I'm going to move on. Alright, now we have the FHA. So, Roosevelt, he called these agencies, he helped them get jobs. They also needed homes, because there are a lot of them were homeless. And so he made the FHA, the Federal Housing Administration, and remember this agency as they provided people home loans. They loaned money to people so they could finally get a home. They got mortgages and repairs. So now we have a way to get people homes. Because there was a really, really high homeless rate during the Great Depression. So now homeless rates are down, unemployment's down, so people have jobs and they have houses again. Alright, we're going to move to the next one. Now we have, yeah, that one?
Yes, sir. Did they have to share the homes with other people?
No, just per family. Like say the government will give you a loan to buy a house. So say you have a family of 4 and you need a house. And so you go to the government and say, I need a loan for my house. They will give you the money. You have to pay it back. But they'll give you the money to go build your own house. Alright, now we have the FERA, the Federal Emergency Relief Agency. And the main thing to remember about this one is that this organization primarily helped out those that the other agencies that we've been talking about didn't really affect as much. People that still needed that extra aid, this is how they got it. Because it provided $500 million to direct relief to the neediest Americans. So those people that are still out in the street starving, they can now find a way to get food.
How did they all called it out from that?
Because they're all acronyms, they all have letters to them. The easiest way to remember them is like CCC, AAA, FERA, FDIC.
Yeah, it's a body picture.
Yeah, it's just a little, the barring the ABCs, the alphabet. Alright, let me go on to the next one, guys. Alright, with everything that happens in politics, there's always critics. Regardless how good or bad something is, you always have a critic on both sides of it. So while FDR did a lot for people, some people said he didn't do enough, and that was the liberals, those are more left of politics. And some say he did way too much. We have way too much government going on right now. We need to lower it a little bit. That's the conservatives. Those are people that are typically tend to be on the right of the political spectrum, and then the liberals are on the left. So, a good quote that Winston Churchill said one time is, any man who is under 30 and is not a liberal has no heart. And any man who is over 30 and is not a conservative has no brains. So what he's saying here is that there's really an age gap with who's a liberal and who's a conservative. Because liberals tend to be more of the younger crowd, while conservatives tend to be more of the older crowd. It's just how it typically goes. It's not always one way or the other. And Winston Churchill kind of iterated that fact in that. Yes. You don't have to write down every single thing on the slide if you don't need to. Just remember what the difference of a liberal and a conservative is. And Roosevelt, even though he did a lot of good, people still criticize him. Some people said he did a lot. He did way too much, that the government does not need to be doing this much. Kind of like a modern day scenario. Something going on right now is the gun control. One side of the argument there's too many guns in this country. We need to regulate it a little bit better. People are getting, there's too much crime, too much violence. We need to lower it. Other side of the argument is, hey, this is my amendment right. Do not take away my guns or my ammo. This is what I am supposed to have. So it's just different. Yeah.
There's a T-shirt in the shooting community that says if the government fears us, then there's liberty.
Yes, that's an argument is that the government needs to fear some people because the government isn't supposed to run our lives, or maybe it is. It's two different arguments. And the thing about critics and criticism is that no matter how good of a president or how bad you were, you always need that criticism. As a student, you need constructive criticism. Say you wrote an essay and you thought you got an A on it, but you didn't do as well as you thought you did. You need that feedback from your teacher on how you're going to get an A next time. You always need criticism to get better. All right, and the Supreme Court reacts to all this stuff that he's making. So some people are saying he's doing too much, and that's unconstitutional. And the Supreme Court actually struck down the NIRA and the AAA as being like, this is too far. You've stretched it a little too far. This is unconstitutional. This is not America. This is not how America should be. And so they struck it down. But FDR was actually able to regain control of the Supreme Court and get these laws passed back in his favor. And how do you gain support of the Supreme Court? Well, how do you become a Supreme Court judge? Does anybody know?
You have to be a judge for so long, then he has to appoint you.
Yeah, the president appoints you. And how long can you be a Supreme Court judge?
Like life.
I heard of, yeah, life. There's not a year limit to it. So say I'm appointed as a Supreme Court judge, I'm a judge until I quit or until I die. And during his time, he appointed 7 new judges. That's a lot of judges. And that way, he was able to get stuff done because they're not going to, he gave me my job. I'm not going to strike down what he did. Yeah. Oh, it's okay. So we're kind of going to go a little fast today, but just remember that the Supreme Court, how judges are appointed, and remember that, the court originally shut down some of these acts that he was trying to do. Alright, just remember on this one, all you have to really write down that you need to remember is that he appointed 7 new judges to the Supreme Court. He's appointing these new judges to pass these acts in his favor. That's the most important thing to remember about this. And how do you guys think that the American people felt about Roosevelt? Do you think they liked him? Do you think they would re-elect him because of all this?
Yes.
Yeah. Naturally, he easily won his second term. Just like that first time he won the election against Hoover, it was a landslide victory. Second time around, people loved him. He had his critics, but he also had a lot of support. He's the only president that was actually elected to more than 2 terms. He was a 3-term president, and ever since then, they won't let it happen again because people think that you shouldn't have more than 8 years in office, and he had more than 8. He died in his 3rd term in office, so he didn't get to fulfill his entire term, but he had three terms as president, and people love him. I mean, some people hate him too, but to get 3 terms, you have to be pretty liked. So just remember that he got elected in the 2nd term. And now what I want you guys to do is that we took that little quiz at the beginning. Now we're going to take basically the same quiz, a little bit different. And we're going to see if we can answer the question a little bit differently, or maybe your opinions might have changed, or maybe your thoughts stay the same. So do this individually, and do this on that. Don't do it on your note page. Do it on your quiz sheet, your question sheet. And you guys could. I'll scroll down a little bit when we'll get to some of these searching questions. Who was the president at the beginning of the Great Depression? So just write that down to number 1. And on number 2, who was the president that helped America get out of the Great Depression with his new policy, his New Deal policy? And now I want you to use your notes that y'all been taking. And what did the government do to help these farmers during the Great Depression? Y'all have those agencies written down, so just tell me what they did and how they used them. And same thing with questions 4 and 5. 4 is going to deal with businesses. So treat businesses also like the unemployment. Like how did this help people get jobs as well? And on number 5, we listed 2 ways that the government came in and helped the banks. And then on these last 2 questions, it's just going to be more of a question to help me as a teacher how this is working for you guys. So just tell me what you like most about this activity today, what you learned the most, what helped you the most, and then on number 7, tell me what helped you the least. Like what was the least effective strategy that helped you guys? So we'll start off. We'll do these numbers 1 through 5 first, because those are the most important to get across. And I'll give you guys about 5 minutes to work on all this. And do this individually, don't do this as a group. Don't worry about these. Don't worry about these right now. So I just want to say.
We already did this.
I know. It's a post-assessment, so it's trying to tell me what y'all learned. Because some of y'all might not have got the ones at first, but now you might know them.
You said the farmer question first, so that was my answer first. You were talking about the farmer thing,
Oh, yeah.
and I answered that.
Just read it first. So just put the number and I'll figure it out. Just do the number. No worry about the right now, guys.
Will you start the paper you passed out?
No, we'll explain it in class in just a second. You can read through it if you want, but don't start on it yet. There's also a due date on there. Don't worry about that at all. Because that date's already out. Alright, I'm going to give you guys a little bit longer to finish up this. And also, we need to see question 7. In this part, we're not going to go over to class. We're just going to go over this sheet that I handed out. So, yeah. Did you not get home? Alright guys, we're going to go over this sheet that I just handed out. Alright, so everybody look at that paper that I gave you. Did everybody get one? Anybody need one? Everybody got one on your desk? Okay. So what this is that you're going to assume the role of somebody who either just got a job, you're either a banker or a farmer, and you're going to write a thank you letter to Mr. Roosevelt. And in that thank you letter, I want you to tell me 2 of the agencies he made that helped you get a job, or helped you as a better banker, or helped you, be able to grow crops again, or become a wealthy farmer. And explain that. Put those 2 things in there. Tell me who you are. Tell me if you're a banker. Tell me how that helped you. So you're going to assume the role of someone else. And I want you guys to complete this, and I will be back here Wednesday, and that's when I'll collect them. So have these done by Wednesday. Alright, so it says Monday, March 1st, that day's already happened. Actually, it was March 2nd, that's today. So that day's already happened, so don't worry about that, just remember Wednesday. So everybody on your sheet, write down Wednesday, March 4th. And y'all have a few more minutes, so go ahead and finish up this. If you haven't, finish up these questions.
Do we have to do what's highlighted?
Yes, do the one that's highlighted. I'm sorry, I didn't say that. Yes, it's going to be highlighted.
Thank you.
So use your notes. Those notes you took about these agencies. If you didn't take good notes, use your partner. Get some good notes of those agencies you'll need. And if you would, when you're done with this, leave it at your desk and I'll collect it. Keep your notes, but let me have your quiz answers and your assessment answers. That's the only thing I'll need. So put your notes and I'll give it back to you on Wednesday. It's okay if you didn't finish. It's okay. Yeah. Not for grade.
So give you the questions?
Yes, give me the answers, put your name on it, and I'll give it back to you on Wednesday. And if you didn't finish, don't worry about it. It's still okay. Just finish as much as you can get done. And if you're done, you have to go put your folders up.
Shelby, did you finish your essay?
Yes, I sent it to you.
Are you sure you're done with it?